My name is Chef Yves Dechaine, and today we're in the Greener Villages Learning Kitchen with Jocelyn Pike, Deputy Mayor here for the City of Fredericton. Welcome, Jocelyn.
Good morning.
And thanks so much for being on. So today we are going to be making scones. I heard you were an avid baker and you like your scones.
I like them, but I can't make them well. I love to bake, and I'm always taking treats into City Council, but I've never been able to get scones the way I wanted them.
Well, hopefully today we'll be able to give you a few tricks and techniques.
Perfect. That's what I need.
Perfect. So anyways, before we get started, let's learn a little bit about you. We'll get to know Deputy Mayor Jocelyn Pike.
Wow. Well, I represent Ward 4, which is Nashwaaksis and part of Devon. I was elected in June of 2021. Before that, I worked at UPS for 26 years. Started in Fredericton, got transferred to Vancouver, went from being a brokerage rater, which basically assessed all the dues and taxes for everything coming into the country, to being, I guess it would be 3IC, in charge of all of BC. So I was in charge of the planes, the tractor trailers, the warehouse. So it was a huge job, a lot of fun. And then I became the customs compliance manager for UPS for the entire country. So that was a lot of work, travel back and forth, visiting ports. Got transferred to Toronto Pearson. I could have come back to Fredericton, but I would have had to retire in 2015, but we moved home. My husband had enough. He's an electrician, and I've had enough working. I want to go home and build our retirement home. So he did. I stopped in Pearson for 2 years because I figured, well, what if we need a mortgage? Probably somebody should still have a job. So I stayed at Pearson, worked there for 2 years as compliance manager and gateway manager. And then I moved home and COVID hit. I worked in the basement, had a table like this, probably this size, and that was my office for 2 years till I retired. Loved it.
Fantastic. So what gave you that political bug?
Oh, it was, believe it or not, I don't consider myself a politician. Okay. I really don't. I got into the City of Fredericton because I saw a need. I want to give back. I like to give back to the residents. I always did that at UPS. I organized plane pulls and truck pulls and walks and you name it. We did. If you tell me the Toronto Pearson Airport will never be able to do a plane pull, we did it, right? So, and we raised a lot of money for United Way and Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and it just it warms your heart, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Doing stuff for other people it does. It makes you feel good.
So when I got here, I said, well, how can I still do that?
Okay.
And I looked at the counselors that are out and about and doing things and helping and going to everything, and I said, I can do that. I like doing that. So if the NB Fishing or Fish and Wildlife want someone to go and hand out trophies on a rainy day in Clarion Lake, I'm there. So I love it. I just love it.
Well, I mean, I think that's how we first met, and I really honestly, how approachable you were as a city councillor. You put up a booth at the Northside Creators Market once a month for anybody who wanted to come in and ask questions. Yeah. And then you took a part in there to help that market kind of grow and succeed and help the people that are coming in to be vendors at that market, giving them advice and stuff like that to flourish and to prosper, which is fantastic.
And they've built a lot of businesses in that market.
They did.
A lot of businesses have moved on and have brick and mortar building, residences now, so it's just great.
You're championing all those causes, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the north side is growing. There's more population now on the north side than the south side, so things are shifting quite a bit. So
can we talk about any new projects or some exciting projects that are kind of developing into the north side?
Look at the Main Street. We're doing a whole new Main Street facade. So Main Street is going to become a nice walkable place. There's paths down from Maple on down and all the way across, so you can now walk down to Maple, and you're going to start seeing a similar look to what you see on Queen Street right along our Main Street. And the other big thing is our city transit.
Yes.
Like, I was so excited with Sunday transit. Now we have a schedule. It's set right now, but we're still looking for feedback from residents on how we can tweak it. But it's exploding. Everybody's using transit now.
So
scones.
We'll make some scones. Fantastic. So it's really simple, and this is a really easy recipe. You can adapt things to your liking, really. Today we're using blueberries.
Perfect.
Because that's what I had in the fridge. I'd like to use a seasonal berry. I was kind of hoping that I'd have some raspberries at home, but I went out last night to look, and they're not quite ready. So I was like, change of plan.
And strawberries are done, and
Yeah, exactly. So, and we had, like I said, we had blueberries donated here, so let's use those blueberries.
Perfect.
So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with 2 cups of flour.
Okay.
And then
awesome.
into that 2 cups of flour, we're going to kind of put a little lemony feel to it. So we're going to make it like a lemon blueberry scone. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to zest 2 lemons right here. So the idea is you want to bring it to where it's just coming into white. You don't want any
you don't
of
want the white. Okay,
the white's bitter. So you just want the oils essentially is what this is doing right here.
And then you can still use the rest of the lemon for.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So, Deputy Mayor, you were just, I guess, appointed that not too long ago. So, when did that happen?
I believe it was the middle of June, or middle towards the end of June. So, what happens really is that the term is split. So we had a deputy mayor from the south side the first 3 years, and the rest of the term will be someone from the north side. So, being retired and available and wanting to get out in the community. And a lot of the other folks on the north side have done it before, so I put my hand up and I was elected. So yeah.
So what kind of duties do you perform? I guess what differs then from being a councillor to being the deputy mayor?
I represent the mayor in a lot of official events that she can attend. Like the mayor does a lot of stuff.
And I mean, she can't split her time, I imagine. Yes.
Exactly. So if there are, like, for example, New Brunswick Day, the mayor's away. So I'm going to go represent Fredericton at New Brunswick Day.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Perfect. So we got our zest in there right now.
Yes.
And then we're going to start adding our dry ingredients.
Okay.
So to the 2 cups,
sugar.
I'm going to add a 1/3 cup of sugar, just like that. We're going to add our baking
powder?
powder. Absolutely. Baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons.
Okay.
Just like that.
Now, okay, so
yeah.
Are you precise? When I bake, I'm not, my husband gives me a really hard time because I'm just, this is enough, or this is enough, or this is enough.
You know what? Once you know, like when I cooked with my grandmother and both my grandmothers, and it was how much?
Yeah.
She was like, well, you use the blue teacup. I always keep
on
saying.
Okay, good.
So. Baking is a science. It really, really is. But if you know the ratios and you know how it feels, then it kind of works for you. So when I attack a baking recipe for the first time,
you go precise.
I do it as a scientist.
Okay.
And then after that, you kind of, you don't want it salty, or I'm using salted butter.
Okay.
Let's just kind of switch that out. That kind of idea. So we're just going to add a teaspoon of salt.
Okay.
And then salt in this is just kind of to balance the flavor. Okay. Without salt, it would be bland and tasteless.
Okay.
So there we go. So we're just going to mix.
I always wondered about salt because, as you get older and the doctor says cut down on your salt, I said, but you have to have the salt for the taste.
You kind of have to have the salt for the taste. And I mean, it doesn't, for the doctor, it's not like you're eating a steak or you're eating a bag of chips. It's a biscuit. So now that we've got our dry ingredients, we'll throw it a break and we'll come back and finish up these biscuits.
Awesome. Thanks.
Welcome back to Easy Eats. Again, we're in the Greener Villages Learning Kitchen with Jocelyn Pike, a city councillor here in our great city of Fredericton, and we're going to add the wet ingredients here to our biscuits. So once everything is in, we just mix it up to make sure everything is incorporated. That way we don't have little pockets of salt or anything like that. And now, to this, we're going to add our butter. So the secret to a nice fluffy biscuit is the way you add your butter to the flour.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
so a lot of people cut it up into chunks or they melt it, but if you melt it, what happens is you don't get that fluff because you want the steam of the butter as it's cooking. That creates the layers in your scones to make it nice and fluffy. So the way to do that is to have it as cold as possible.
Right.
So what I do is I keep it in the freezer to the last minute.
In the freezer?
In the freezer.
Oh, okay. I've never done that.
And then all I do is I grate it in just like this. And by grating it like this, then you're not manipulating the dough. And the idea for these biscuits is you want to work it until it comes together, and that's it. The hotter your hands, the more you melt the butter, the thicker, the denser your biscuits, or not your biscuits, but your scones are going to be. So the idea is to just kind of bring it together.
This is going to be amazing because it takes so much time, even when you cut it, to take the, what do you call that thing, the pastry rolling
exactly,
thing?
to get it to pea size.
Cut it in, yes, exactly.
So what we're doing right now is we're making it pea
You're
size
already there.
now. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Oh,
So
my
you can get a
husband's
better-
gonna love you.
And then we were talking during the break about your sugar, right? And how he likes it sweeter.
A lot sweeter, yeah.
So what happens is the more sugar you put in, the denser it'll be as well. So you put
Okay.
the right amount of, and that's where you get the science of your biscuit, right?
Okay.
So if your husband likes it sweeter, then you just, when we put the glaze on, add more glaze, and
Okay.
it'll make that sweeter
Yeah,
that way.
there you go. And then I can have ones without the glaze, and he can have his glaze.
Well,
with-
exactly.
Perfect.
There we go.
Oh,
we've
I
got
like this idea.
that right like that.
That's worth the trip today. Seriously, that's amazing because it takes so much time. Because when I make biscuits, I'll double and double. So I make 2.
Right.
So I spend a whole lot of time just rolling and breaking down the butter. So it's, as you say, pea size.
Pea size, and there you go. Right like that, just like that.
What a time saver. I love
Yeah,
it.
and then we're going to add our sour cream, which
Yep.
is a half a cup of sour cream. You can use milk for this.
Okay.
I just like using sour cream or Greek yogurt because it has that lovely tang.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I like. We'll add vanilla because we're making a sweet scone today. Just like that. And then we're going to add a couple eggs. So the recipe calls for 1 large egg, but we have medium eggs here at the Greener
Okay.
Village, so I always add 2. Just a little extra egg. Doesn't hurt any.
Okay.
There we go, and all we're going to do now is we're just going to start mixing this together until it slowly starts to form. There we go, so we're just going to start bringing that together like this. At this point right here where it's kind of shaggy,
Yeah.
I'm going to start putting in my blueberries.
Oh, okay.
If you're using frozen blueberries,
Yeah.
it'll turn your scones
Yeah.
purple.
Yeah.
So those you'll add at the last minute.
Okay.
Same thing if you're adding any other
'Cause
kind
they
of
have
fruit.
so much liquid.
Liquid,
Yeah.
exactly. So you'd
Right.
almost have to adjust the amount of, say, cream or butter
Okay.
that you'll put in.
Right.
There we go. What we're going to do now is just kind of mix this together. Now I'm going to get my hands into it.
This is the fun part.
And then we're just going to bring this into a dough, just like that.
Yeah.
So while we're doing this, and we're talking about markets and we're making biscuits and things like that, there's an organization called BFN. Is the city
Business
involved in
Fredericton
that?
North. Yes, yes. Business Fredericton North. They're very active on Main Street, actually clear down to almost a portion of Devon. Their boundaries are restricted based on businesses on the Main
Okay.
Street kind of thing. So, but they're very active actually with the Northside Creators Market in that they. Do you remember last year when it was Let's Meet on Main Street?
Yes.
Right? And they had all those concerts. It was trying to draw business onto the Main Street, and they had like concerts, free concerts. So if say the market or the rugby club or any of the businesses on Main Street put on an event, Business Fredericton North would supply a free concert for 2 hours for them in the afternoon. It was great. It would draw a lot of people to the Main Street, people that had never really been down to Main Street to see just what was going on, and business, like we couldn't believe the results of the people that increased going to Main Street during that time. It was amazing.
This is together, and like I said, we're just bringing it together. And then you're going to notice that there's going to be some flour left in the bottom of the bowl. That's okay. We're not gonna worry about that. My grandmother used to call this the angel share. So it tells you because it all depends.
I thought you'd have to work that all in before you.
No, what happens is humidity. So a day like today where it's hot, it's heavy, and it's humid, so we may not need as much flour, or it may absorb more flour than it may need.
And that would make it tougher or
It would make
denser?
it would make it tougher, denser.
Yeah.
So it's not absorbing any. So it'll take,
Okay.
and we'll let it absorb as much flour as it needs. So that's where you come into the kind of the grandmother's recipes, is they like 2 handfuls or about. So
Yes.
it's about 2 cups. Sometimes
pinch.
A pinch, exactly. So now we're at this point right now. So all we're going to do is, my hands are all nice and sticky. So while I wipe mine off,
You want me
Jocelyn,
to-
I'm going to get you to just kind of press it out to the thickness of scone that you'd like to see.
Okay. Well, that's new too, because I guess I'm used to pastry, right? Where you just kind of flip it over and roll it out again and flip it over. What do you think about that?
I think that looks great. Your scones are usually cut into triangles. So this recipe calls for 8 scones, so you can cut them into 8. If you like a bigger scone, you can cut them into 6. You cut them into however many you want. So while you're doing that, we've got our oven set at 400 degrees Fahrenheit on convection. Yeah, and they don't, I mean, just follow your heart. They don't have to be even or perfect. They're however big you want to make them. And then now all we're going to do is we're going to grab our scones and just...
On the parchment, yay.
On the parchment, yeah. And like I said, we'll set them into the oven.
That makes the bottoms better, I think, too, because before you spray them with grease or butter or something on the bottom.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And
there's
this, you
different
don't need it, right?
there's different schools of thought.
I know.
There really is. People like that have that nice crispy bottom, and the parchment kind of doesn't give you that. But I don't like doing the dishes and
Very
scrubbing.
beneficial
so yeah,
for cleanup.
absolutely. So we'll grab these right here.
Yes.
Really simple. We'll slide these into an oven, like I said, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll probably give them about 10 minutes or so. So we'll let these biscuits bake, and then we'll be back after the break to make the glaze for them. Welcome back. So these are out of the oven, and we are just going to put them delicately. Here we go.
I think that was the right size to cut them, I got to be honest.
They are, yeah, no, they're
Right.
perfect. So we're just going to let them cool here. And the idea is they're still fairly fragile, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going to let them cool on the rack, just like this. And while they're cooling, we're going to make a glaze for them.
Oh, my word. They look
So
amazing.
there we go. So there we go. We're going to let them cool. So before we put the
steam
glaze
them.
on it, we want to let them cool because then the glaze would melt.
Yeah, it would just run right off, wouldn't it?
Exactly. So to make the glaze is really, really simple. All we're going to do is take a little bit of melted butter into some...
So it's okay to melt the butter this time.
It is okay to melt the butter this time. Because what we're doing is we're making a glaze, right? An
Right.
icing. So a little bit of butter into some icing sugar, and then I'm going to grab the lemon that we zested earlier.
Yes.
And we're just going to add some lemon juice to that. So I'm squeezing it like this so we can get the maximum amount of juice from it. Just like that. And there we are. And I got my reamer right here. And we'll
You
just-
know, I still have one of those that my grandmother used to use.
Oh yeah?
And the little glass one that...
Yeah. No, I've got a few in my collection as well. So I'm just going to add, here we go. So it's surprising how much liquid icing sugar can absorb. So, and there's different techniques to make this glaze. This one has butter. Sometimes you don't use butter. You can just use a little bit of water. Maybe sometimes it's just the lemon juice itself. Before we get ready to glaze, we're going to let them cool a little bit more. But let's talk a little bit more about the city of Fredericton.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean,
have you been downtown?
I have been downtown.
What do you think of Officer Square?
I think it's fantastic. I think that there was a lot of ups and downs and a lot of people, but I think it's fantastic. It welcomes the festivals that we're so well known for, and all the art. I mean, this city is known for its artists and for everything. So it's great the way the downtown is kind of.
I can't imagine how much fun we're going to have with Harvest downtown this summer.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's the park is being used all
year round, really,
right? Yeah. Well, let's talk about the summer series, or let's talk about the Garrison Park, and what does it have to offer? What's new since?
Well, now that we've got Officer Square open, we can extend the Garrison Market.
Okay.
So it's huge. We have so many food trucks there now. And this year the city took a different twist with food trucks. So you may instead of getting in every week, we look to have variety all the time.
And it's a great addition to the city. As much as I love the Boyce Market, and there's always new vendors and things like that. It's nice to connect, and it is a weekly destination to get to visit, to go see the vendors that you're friends with, to hold court at the coffee shop and stuff like that. But
you think of the Boyce, right? You have your route already planned where you want to go.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Kang's. I'm going to go to Judy's. I'm going to go, to get my vegetables, and then I'll walk through just to see if there's, see some of the new vendors. But I know before I get there what I'm going to go to. Garrison, you never know, right? Because everybody's different, or could potentially be different every week. Music in the park, movies in the park. So we've got movies on the north side with Business Fredericton North on Wednesday nights. And then you have the movies in the park on Thursday nights downtown. So it just goes back and forth. There's always something going on. It's just amazing.
And it's free programming, which I think is fantastic,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of families that don't have the means to go to something like the Harvest and see. But on the flip side, what I really enjoy about the Harvest Festival is that when the street gets closed off, it's like everyone's invited,
Yeah.
and you can hear music, and there's free music everywhere. How much is the city involved into that, or is it the committee that does
It's
most
pretty
of it?
much run by the committee. Like, we make sure that everyone who's going is safe and that kind of stuff. We do provide a grant, and that they apply for every year, same as a lot of other places apply for grants. But yeah, it's run by the committee, and there's the attendance there just keeps growing and growing. Last year was so unfortunate with the big rainstorm. Remember we had the
Well, that's it. Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm a volunteer, and I was disappointed because, I mean, that show I really wanted to go to,
Yeah.
but they cut it off early, and I do understand. Yeah.
But you know, from the north side, if you sit out on your back deck, you can hear the music.
No, you're absolutely right.
Which is
Even
kinda
when
nice.
when I was living in town here by the Princess Margaret Bridge,
Yeah.
if you listened,
Yeah.
you could hear
Yeah.
some artists. It
Yeah.
was great.
The whole feeling of the city is just we're together. You know, we're all together and we're having fun, which is great.
And I've always said that about Fredericton. It is one of the first cities where I've found that people are very generous of their time. And I mean, when community events come together, like Harvest,
Yeah.
everyone's kind
Everybody
of family.
volunteers, right?
And yeah, and you're fighting the volunteer, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I really love it. The downtown's amazing.
perfect. So I'm just going to give these a nice dollop on just like that and
Oh,
kind of
wow.
smear. So it's still a little bit warm. So we can put those on just like that.
Oh yeah, and then it'll just naturally run a little bit down the
Exactly.
sides.
So I'm just going to do a couple here, just like that for you and I to taste. But before we do that, we were talking about the Garrison Market,
Yes.
and we have a stall down at the Garrison Market, and we sell stuff like our bread to
Oh,
show
nice.
the programs we do.
Okay,
But
excellent.
it also allows me a chance to play with a few things.
Okay.
So what I wanted you to taste today is this lovely rose petal syrup that I made with the wild roses out by our drive. So we're going to put a little bit of that on top, just like this. And then there you go. Before we bite into that, what would be the proudest thing you think you've achieved as a counselor here so far?
I'm just really into what makes Fredericton a vibrant, happy community for everybody, so that everybody can go downtown and feel safe and have fun. That's what I want to do. We hear a lot of unfortunate stories, and we're doing the best. You know, the city is so engaged in making sure our trail system is safe and open. My poor husband's stories again, but when the bridge was closed, we talked about that, and the Fredericton Bridge had an accident. He had an appointment, and it was up the hill, so he got on his bike. We're on the north side on Grindstone Court. Across he went and made his appointment. He got up there in like 20 minutes on our trail system.
Well,
Like,
yeah, no, it's a
that's
great
amazing,
system, yes.
right?
And it's nice
Beautiful
because, I mean, it was a smart idea to take the old railway system
Yeah.
and turn it into a walking
Yeah,
trail.
absolutely, absolutely.
So let's taste these scones. Here we go. This one for you. This
That's
guy
a big one. I'm going to take the baby one.
Baby one. And thank you so much for joining me today. And tell me what you think.
Oh my word, you're amazing. Wow.
So hopefully I gave you a couple.
I love the texture.
It is nice. It's nice and it's fluffy, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was really a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Right on. So my last question to you, Jocelyn, is will you be running again?
Absolutely. I love Ward 4. I love this city, and I want to do what I can for the residents.
Fantastic. Thanks
Thanks
again.
so much.